Rain poured relentlessly over the cold, gray streets of the city. Amid the blur of umbrellas and hurried footsteps, one small figure huddled under the flickering light of a broken street lamp. A young mother, her clothes threadbare and soaked through, held a tiny bundle close to her chest. The bundle wasn't swaddled in the softness of a blanket or the warmth of a coat. It was wrapped in layers of old, crumpled newspapers, the ink smudged from the relentless rain. Her hands shook from the cold and exhaustion, but she pressed her child tightly against her chest, whispering soothing words she didn't know she believed herself. The baby's eyes blinked sleepily, barely understanding the harsh world outside the thin barrier of newspaper. The mother's name was Jessica, and for her, every step she took that day was a battle against despair. Before we continue, if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, because today's story reminds us that even the smallest act of compassion can change lives forever. Jessica had not always been invisible. Just a year ago, she had a small apartment, a job that barely paid the bills, and dreams of giving her daughter Olivia a life full of love and stability. But life has a way of crumbling beneath the feet of those who try to hold it together alone. A sudden layoff, medical bills she could not pay, and a landlord who refused to wait a single day for rent had reduced her to nothing more than a shadow moving through the city streets. Her pride kept her from asking for help. She feared judgment, feared rejection, feared being overlooked. So instead, she survived on scraps and the kindness of strangers who offered what they could, usually a sandwich or a few coins tossed into her trembling hands. The streets at night were merciless. The wind cut through her thin layers of clothing, and the rain seeped into her shoes, chilling her from the inside. Jessica would rock Olivia gently, trying to keep her warm and quiet, afraid that the baby's cries would draw attention they could not afford. Every night, she searched for shelter, a doorway, an abandoned bus stop, even the steps of a closed shop. Yet, the city that bustled so vibrantly during the day seemed to disappear after sunset, leaving her alone with the sound of dripping water, the distant hum of cars, and her own racing thoughts. Jessica's eyes were bloodshot from sleepless nights. She had walked miles that day, trying to find food in any warm corner where she could rest. Her body ached from hunger and cold, but it was Olivia's fragile body pressed against hers that made the pain almost bearable. As she huddled against the cold brick of an empty alley, she noticed the newspapers she had scavenged from a nearby trash bin. They were torn, wet, and tattered, but it was all she had to protect Olivia from the rain. She wrapped her daughter as carefully as she could, pressing the paper against her skin, hoping it was enough to keep her alive through the night. Hours passed, and Jessica felt herself slipping deeper into hopelessness. She thought about giving up, about how easy it would be to let herself melt into the shadows of the city, to disappear without a trace. But then, Olivia stirred in her arms, her small hands gripping Jessica's finger, and Jessica felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. She whispered, "I won't let anything happen to you, my love. I promise." But the streets offered no promises. It was then that Michael Carter, a single father who had lost his wife 2 years ago, walked into the alley. Michael had his own burdens, caring for his young son while balancing 2 jobs, but he always believed that no one's struggles should go unnoticed. He was on his way home from a late shift when the faint sound of a baby's cry reached his ears. He paused, scanning the shadows, and his heart tightened at the sight of Jessica and Olivia. Michael approached slowly, careful not to startle them, and as the light from his flashlight fell on the mother and child, he saw the newspapers, the shivering limbs, and the exhaustion etched into Jessica's face. Jessica looked up, fear flashing in her eyes. She had learned to distrust strangers, to assume that anyone who stopped would turn away, judge her, or worse. But Michael's eyes were gentle, unthreatening, and full of understanding. Without a word, he knelt beside her, holding out a dry blanket from his car. The warmth that enveloped Olivia instantly brought tears to Jessica's eyes. Michael's voice was soft as he said, "It's okay. You're not alone tonight." That night, Michael didn't just offer a blanket. He offered Jessica something she hadn't felt in a long time, compassion without condition. He drove her to a small shelter that had beds available for mothers with children, ensuring that Olivia would be safe and dry for the first time in weeks. Jessica clung to Olivia, exhausted, grateful, and silently apologetic for the tears she couldn't hold back. Michael stayed with them long enough to make sure they were settled, offering advice about resources, food banks, and even potential job opportunities. For Jessica, it was overwhelming. She had been invisible to the world for so long that she almost didn't believe someone could care without expecting something in return. Days turned into weeks, and Jessica began to rebuild her life slowly. The shelter provided access to counselors and volunteers who helped her find employment. Michael checked in regularly, bringing small comforts for Olivia, a new blanket, a toy, sometimes a warm meal. He didn't try to take over her life or make her feel indebted. He simply offered the support she needed to stand on her own 2 feet again. Jessica found work at a small bakery where the owner took pity on her story and admired her determination. Every paycheck, every small step forward felt like a victory, a confirmation that life could still be beautiful even after losing so much. The transformation wasn't immediate. There were days when Jessica felt like giving up, when the city's harshness threatened to crush her spirit once more. But Michael's quiet presence reminded her that there were people willing to care, that kindness could be found in unexpected places. Jessica learned to accept help without shame and discovered a resilience she hadn't known she possessed. Her bond with Olivia grew stronger, rooted not only in survival but in the joy of discovering that the world could be forgiving, even gentle. One chilly evening, as Jessica tucked Olivia into a proper bed in the shelter, she paused to look out the window at the city that had once seemed so unyielding. She remembered the alley, the newspapers, the rain, and the desperation that had nearly consumed her. And she smiled, a fragile, trembling smile, because she now knew that kindness existed, that miracles could come in the form of a stranger stopping to notice someone's suffering. Michael continued to be a guiding presence not just for Jessica but also for Olivia. He helped her navigate the complexities of life as a single mother, offering mentorship, friendship, and a model of the kind of father he was to his own son. Over time, Jessica grew into a confident woman who believed in second chances, not just for herself but for the people around her. The memory of that night in the rain never left her, serving as a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single act of compassion could ignite a spark of hope powerful enough to change everything. Months later, Jessica and Olivia had moved into a small apartment. The walls were bare but clean. The air smelled of home and not despair, and the nights were no longer filled with the terror of the cold city streets. Jessica kept a framed photo of that first rainy night on her dresser, a picture of her holding Olivia wrapped in newspapers, eyes wide and full of fear, captured before the kindness of a stranger altered the course of their lives. It was a reminder of how fragile life could be and how transformative one person's empathy could become. If this story touched your heart, please engage with the video by liking, commenting, and sharing it. Let the world know that kindness matters, that small gestures can save lives, and that second chances are real. Before we end, I want to ask you to leave a comment, share a story of kindness that changed your life, or simply write a word of encouragement for those who may be struggling. Your words might be the spark someone needs to hold on. Jessica's life was no longer a tale of survival alone. It had become a story of resilience, hope, and the extraordinary power of human compassion. From the cold streets to a warm home, from newspapers to blankets, from despair to a future filled with promise, her journey is proof that even the smallest act of kindness can reshape a life forever. And it all began with a single moment, a stranger stopping to help a mother and her child when the world seemed to have turned its back.